So, come up to the lab and see what's on the slab. I see you shiver with anticipation.
Welcome to Three Films and a Podcast, the show where destiny brought together three friends to enhance each other's cinematic journey by watching three new movies in a series of themed rounds. There is no claim of ownership on any film footage used in this episode, as all film footage is owned in its entirety by the copyright holders. And just like every car in Too Fast, Too Furious, this podcast contains spoilers. Enjoy!
All right, hello and welcome back to Three Films and a Podcast, the show where three friends challenge each other to broaden their cinematic horizons through a series of themed rounds. We're currently 3 movies deep into our Halloween movies round, and this week we're going to be discussing a 1975 classic film featuring a Sarandon in a starring role. I'm not talking about Dog Day Afternoon with Chris Sarandon. I'm, of course, talking about the 1975 musical, comedy, horror, cult classic, and LGBTQ icon, the Rocky Horror Picture Show. That's right, we're heading into the rain-soaked backwoods of Ohio to meet Dr. Frankenfurter and his band of Transylvanian admirers. There's going to be music, murder, intrigue, and a chiseled He-Man sex slave, of course. My name is Tyler Beck, currently broadcasting from the Castro Valley in California, and I'm joined, as always, by Ben Lawhorn in Salt Lake City.
I'm so glad we're finally doing this. We got it pushed off from last week, and this whole week I've just been filled with anticipation. I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
I was wondering where you're going with that. You wrapped it up so nicely. Unfortunately, Matt couldn't be here. He found his way into the castle and he never came out. And I can understand why. It's a fun, silly place, and you know, it draws people in. If you're new to the show, welcome to our movie club. And for those of you returning, welcome back. We appreciate you all spending your time with us, and we'd be forever grateful if you could, tell your friends and family about us. Tell them to follow at 3filmspod on all social platforms. And of course, check out our website for merch and patron support options at 3filmspod.com. And before we go any further, please allow me to introduce you all to our very special guests. We have Kelli Madden from the Drunk Theory podcast and Caleb from the Paranormal Burrito podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Hello.
I'm so excited you guys are here for this one. This is going to be a lot of fun. I think we can tell.
I'm super
already.
happy to be here.
It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, we're very happy to have you. And from what I hear, you're both super fans of this movie, so you can help set us straight in everything that goes on here.
Yes, I love it.
Kelli, you want to tell us a little bit about your podcast real quick?
Sure. So I am with Drunk Theory, and there are actually 4 of us. So it is me and my husband, my sister and her husband, and we get drunk and talk about conspiracy theories. And
beautiful.
We tackle the fun stuff. So we're doing Bigfoot and birds aren't real, and it's a comedy show. People think that we're really funny when we're drunk, and they love the accents. So
it's a win-win. Yeah, it's a solid combo.
I do love the accent. It's very charming.
Thank you.
How can people find you on like Twitter or what's the best place to find you?
We're everywhere. So, if you're talking to Drunk Theory on Twitter, you're talking to Kara. If you're talking to Drunk Theory on Facebook, you're talking to me.
Okay.
Drunk Theory on Instagram is Ryan. I'm on TikTok making the drinks. So, Drunk Theory podcast on TikTok.
We'll have to find you on there.
Yeah.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah, we do a themed drink with every episode. When we did our Fucked Up Families episode, I did Bahama Mamas. And then I make the bartending video for it.
That's so cool.
That's rad. That sounds like fun. I'll have to check it out. Unfortunately, I'm embarrassed to say I haven't listened to either of your podcasts, so you'll have to forgive me. I will rectify that.
So
I told you guys, I've been moving. I've been on the road. I've barely had time to do this podcast, so my apologies.
I completely get it.
Caleb, tell us about your show.
Yeah, so I have a show. It's called The Paranormal Burrito. Before you ask, I got that name from a random band's name and generator. And it was literally, I was like, paranormal, like band names. And then they were like, the paranormal plus a food. I was like, yeah, they're like the Paranormal Burrito. I was like, that's the one. Yes, please.
There it is.
Perfect.
And so I had my friend design the concept art around it. And yeah, it was kind of a running before you walk type thing. I just kind of dove myself
Sure.
into the deep end with podcasting, and here I am. Basically, I interview a new person every episode about their spooky experiences, about what death means to them, about what grief means to them, about their favorite horror movies. I pretend like I had planned this, but I didn't. But it's like a burrito of everything that has to do with the paranormal. So,
No, you planned it subconsciously somewhere.
exactly.
It was there. Yeah.
Well, that sounds like fun. So you dive into like the sort of the darker corners of the world. It sounds like. That's cool.
I had started off just wanting to interview people about like their spooky stories, and honestly, like if you go back to like the episode Kelly's and with like the spooky ghoulies or the ghosts, I even forgot the episode. We had recorded it just before. But if you go back to Kelly's episode, and I interviewed the Drunk Theory cast, and they got me so off topic.
We do that. Yeah. We definitely do that.
And I think we started talking about different horror movies. And I was honestly kind of like, this is a good format, just kind of free form. Let's see where it goes. So sometimes the episodes turn out funny. Sometimes they turn out really deep and meaningful. Like people talk about their parents who have passed away and they've seen them in dreams, or what grief means to them. So it's a really, I don't know, it's fun for me to do. So that's why I keep doing it.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. If you're not enjoying it, you know.
Yeah. And you can find me anywhere. Wherever you're listening to this podcast, you can probably find me. If you're listening to on YouTube, I don't quite have that up and running yet. But anywhere, classic Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And then I also have a TikTok. It's TPB Pod. It's nothing related to my podcast. I just do random videos of myself on there.
Guessing, you know? So. I like it.
And then if you follow my Twitter, just be prepared for lots of, I don't know, what would you call it, Kelly? Shenanigans, I guess.
Yeah. I like shenanigans.
That's what Twitter's for. That's perfect.
Yeah. What else? Yeah, there's nothing else we should use Twitter for other than shenanigans.
Oh, exactly.
I like more shenanigans.
Exactly.
Cue the Super Troopers clip, Ben.
Already in my head.
Thank you.
It's coming.
I swear to God, I'll pistol whip the next guy that says shenanigans.
Hey, Farva, what's the name of that restaurant you like with all the goofy shit on the walls and the mozzarella sticks? You mean Shenanigans? Oh. You're talking about Shenanigans, right?
Put those away!
Well, as I mentioned briefly before, we like to think of this podcast as a movie club, and being guests of the show means you are officially in the club. Welcome. We're very happy to have you.
I love being part of things.
Yes.
Well, you are a part of an ever-growing club. It's been super fun. Let's just get into this movie, shall we?
Okay.
Does that sound like a good idea? This was my first time seeing this movie. I thought I had seen it before, but when I was watching it, I'm like, I've definitely never seen this before.
You would remember.
You would remember.
Yeah, and I've seen pieces of it, and I've heard every song, so I think that's why I felt like I had seen it. And my favorite version of music was a cover of Me First and the Gimme Gimmes did the title track of the song Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Science fiction, double feature, Dr. X will build a creature.
And that was the first time I'd heard the song. That was actually my first introduction to this movie and the music. And and just watching it, I thought there was no way that I was like, I'm gonna like the Me First version better, but you just can't. This movie is so much fun. The music is so much fun. The
It's
performers do
perfect.
such an incredible job.
Yeah.
And Kelly, I just want to know about your personal experience with this movie and just kind of your general overall thoughts.
So I grew up with it. I saw it probably the first time when I was 4 or 5 on VHS, because I'm
Nice.
that old. And at that age, I didn't know what a sweet transvestite was or any of that. But I thought Hot Patootie Bless My Soul was like the best thing ever.
Oh yeah.
So,
I mean, it
the
is.
music was fun. The costumes were fun. As I grew up, I watched it more. I saw it. In high school, I went and saw it in the theater, where
Cool.
people dress up. I went as Magenta.
Mhm.
Nice.
In college, I took a horror literature and film class and did the final on Rocky Horror, where I played Time Warp in the presentation and dressed as Magenta
Nice.
again.
Nice.
I
Beautiful.
recently met Barry Bostwick, and
Oh, really?
yes, he was at Days of the Dead.
Cool.
And he was the only person that I was like, I got to meet Barry Bostwick, because I'd met a lot of the other people because we do a lot of the cons. But
Yeah.
I was like, I got to meet Barry Bostwick, and he was so nice, and he took a picture with me and everything. But yeah, it's been with me like my whole life, and I just love it. I never get tired of it. I've watched it, 4 times in the past 2 weeks, and I watched it right before this show. I could go watch it again after this show.
It's a sign
Yeah,
of a
I
good
gotta
movie.
say, like I said, I'd never seen it before, and after I watched it, I went and talked to my girlfriend Alex, and I was just like, "Babe, this movie's fucking fun. Like, it's just,
Yes.
you can easily. It just was so apparent to me why it was so beloved by so many people. And then when I found out it was sort of a bomb when it came out, I guess I just couldn't believe it, because it's just so much damn fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't know. What do I know? Caleb, what about you? What's been your experience and your sort of general overall thoughts?
So I got into it much later. Like many things in my life, it's tied into when I was coming out of the closet as gay. And it had been like a year since. It was like 2014. So I didn't grow up with it like Kelly did, but I knew of it like you had, Tyler. Like it was like this cultural osmosis. Like I had the picture of Frankenfooter in my head, and that was about the extent of what I knew about the movie, is that there's something to do with cannibals, and then Tim Curry is Frankenfooter.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I'm out. I need to watch this movie to have that punch on my gay card,
Yeah. Like I won't be accepted.
Exactly. And so I watched it, and y'all, I wasn't prepared for the transition that movie just took me through. Like just the sheer like music and absurdity of the plot, and just the costumes, like Kelly was saying, and just the God, I fell in love. I was like, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
mean, I had the same reaction, like I was just like, this is fucking incredible. And I can just see why it's been such like a safe place for people from different orientations to like find a community around, because it is like, it's, I don't really necessarily know how to articulate it, but I just loved how it just was so open about what it was and what it was trying to do. And it didn't pull any punches, and it was just, it was really fucking fun. You know what I mean? Like it just, I don't know. I think it was just a really, really fun experience to see it for the first time.
Yeah.
For sure.
I agree with that. I think on a lot of levels too. I as I was watching this, I kept thinking of the community, the guy, not principal dude, the dean or whatever. And he's like, this better not awaken anything in me. I was like, that's what this movie is. This movie is like just made to awaken things in people, That's exactly what this is. I'm still very pro Susan Sarandon. I can say that still after watching this. Like she's beautiful. She was great in this movie. But yeah, this is my first time watching it too. I think my experience, as you put it, Caleb, like it was like a cultural osmosis where it's like, I know of the movie. I really have no idea what it's about, but like, I know it exists. I know it's a big thing. I knew about the theater going experience. People would dress up and stuff. And I didn't understand that until I went and saw The Room and they do the same kind of thing where they, people are like call and respond to the movie and like bringing props and stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, this is cool. I've never been in anything like this. And now it makes so much more sense after watching, Rocky Horror Picture Show. I was like, oh, I want to go do this. Like, this looks like so much fun to go experience the movie like this with other people who love the movie. I think this has got to be up there. I mean, Tyler and I are like huge fans of The Big Lebowski, but I'm like, this might be the bigger like cult classic. Like, this is huge.
Wow.
This is insane what it accomplished,
I mean, in doing some research, I think this was like the first cult classic, right? Like, this is what defined
definitely the
what
first
a cult classic is.
Yeah. And I think it's just like, it's got to be the number one, it's like, it's been running at that one theater since like 77. It's like made 100 something times on its investment. I don't know. I loved it. I had a lot of fun. I'm also with Tyler where I knew just the science fiction double feature cover by me first. And so when the movie started, it's like, this is a lot slower than I thought it would be.
I didn't know there was a cover. I didn't know there was a cover to that song.
I love it. But that's just because I've been listening to it for whatever, 10 years plus or something like that. So I'm like, oh, I love this song. I have no idea what it's from. So to finally connect the dots, I was like, holy shit. Okay, cool. I like this, and now I was like, oh, now I know who Janet is. Like, got it. Okay. I don't know who these people are they're talking about, but now I got it. So I had a great time. I loved it. This will definitely like start making the circulation for me, because this is just like, it's a fun watch. It's a good watch. And it doesn't need to be a Halloween watch. I know that's what we picked it for, but I think you could just put this on any time. It was a lot of fun.
Do you guys want to know like a really cool, like restored faith a bit in humanity story that came out recently because of Rocky Horror Picture Show?
I do.
More than anything, Caleb.
So, right. So, you know how Disney, who will soon be our corporate overlords and will have to worship the mouse, they bought Fox. So they bought essentially Rocky Horror Picture Show as well. Which technically puts Frankenfooter in the ranks of Disney princess, but that's beside the point.
Oh God, give me that. Now I need that. That's great.
Right?
Move aside, Jasmine. I've got a new favorite.
I need to figure out who fought for this, because it was obviously someone who's like me or Kelly or probably you guys now. But Disney likes to, when they acquire things, put things back in the vault. Right. And the whole point of Rocky Horror Picture Show is they kept it as like some type of legally like open thing, so theaters can just play it at any time. And Disney, in their contract buying Fox, they specifically put in a clause for Rocky Horror Picture Show that they would let theaters still play this movie and not put it in the vault. They're like, you know what? It's belongs to you guys. Like, we can't. And I was like,
I love it.
God, thank you.
Whatever sliver of humanity we can get from the mouse, we'll take. That's awesome.
That's
I like hearing that a lot.
Yeah,
that's beautiful. And
like I said, I need to look into it more, because I know there was somebody or a couple like gay boys that were like, please.
Oh, for sure. They don't want the wrath of the
interns at Disney talking to Kevin Feige or whoever. That's Marvel, but
this place will be burned to the ground if we don't let them show this. So
exactly.
I mean, I can be a cynic, so there's a part of me that's just like, no, it's pure capitalism. They know where their bread is buttered. They're gonna make too much money. They stand to lose too much to shelve it.
Either way, I'm so happy they.
I'm choosing to believe that it's just from the goodness of their hearts,
Yeah.
Well, sort of on that same vein, the first thing I wanted to talk about when we started talking more about the movie was just what this movie did for representation for the LGBTQ community. The quote, the freaks and the weirdos, the people that didn't necessarily have a way to see themselves on screen or have a community, or just all that sort of general vibe. We've been trying to make decisions on the podcast recently with representation in mind. We're trying to theme our rounds to make sure we're exposing ourselves to some new stories and some new ways of life and all that sort of thing. And this movie, although we didn't necessarily pick it with that in mind, it certainly fits that bill. And that's what I've always known it as. Like I had friends in high school that this was like their thing. This was like their Super Bowl, going to see the Rocky Horror Show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just always thought that was really beautiful. That's the thing I knew about this movie was it was like very beloved by this community of people that, you know, I was friends with and I knew a lot of people. And so anyways, I don't know. I just think that's really cool. And I have noticed there seems to be a general shift lately, culturally with pop culture and in the mainstream, including Disney and some of their properties. And it seems to be the case that they are thinking with representation in mind with the stories they present. So I don't know. I was just curious what you guys felt was happening in our modern world that was sort of matches what Rocky Horror did in 1975. If anything, I mean, there may not be, but I don't know. I was just curious if you guys could think anything along those lines. And this is, I grant you a tough question to answer off the top of your head. So I can go first, and I just wanted to shout out Marvel. I felt like, you know, there's a long way they can go. There's a lot more that they can do as far as representation and their properties. But, you know, movies like Black Panther and Shang-Chi are a really good step in the right direction. I know when Loki came out and there was the buzz about bisexual Loki, that was like the first step towards the LGBTQ community being represented in Marvel. And so I don't know. I think it's cool. And I think that there is a definite shift towards trying to represent, you know, other groups of people besides just, you know, boring old white guys like me. So I don't know if you guys have anything, that's awesome. If not, you know, we can chat about something else. But if anyone's got something, feel free to stop my rambling.
Like, you know, when I think about Rocky Horror, I think about, you know, kind of the flamboyance and, you know, the I am fabulous because I'm fabulous, you know. And, you know, when I think about that and I think about that today, I think about Billy Porter. Because I feel like he is just like, I'm fabulous and I'm going to do whatever I want and I'm going to wear whatever I want. And, you know, so I guess that would be the most modern, but kind of if you take it back a little bit, I would say maybe like the club kids of the 90s. And, you know, how that maybe, you know, went from Rocky Horror to the club kids to maybe today when everybody can just be as flamboyant and decadent as they want to be. And, you know, it's fabulous.
Absolutely.
It's funny you mentioned Billy Porter because my first initial thought was Pose and just some of the stuff that like Ryan Murphy is doing. I honestly, I got to say, I feel weird as like a straight white cis male, like having a thought on this. Like there's so much stuff I'm missing out on. And I know that, but the other thing that I thought about, just from the little I've seen of it, my girlfriend watched it all, and, you know, it's kind of like, you know, you have a partner and you end up kind of watching what they're watching kind of thing. But my thought was Euphoria, because I feel like we have like a front and center trans character, which is great. We have a lot of POC that are on there. And it's just like, I don't know, there's just a lot of representation in that show. Plus the other side of it too, just kind of like, I don't know, the pressures of high school. Like everyone grew up with like a high school show and what it's like, but just this feels like the most relevant, the most like current thing of just like what the pressures are. Like none of us grew up. I'll speak for myself, I guess. I didn't grow up with like the social media, you know, like having to worry about like your brand or who you are or anything like that. You know what I mean? I was just like, oh, can I wear my Jenkos today or not? You know, like that was my biggest concern. It wasn't like, what am I posting?
Always yes.
Yeah. It's like, what am I posting on my TikTok? Like, so there's just a whole different like side of what people have to worry about now. And from what I gather, as far as representation, at least, like Euphoria is doing a good job of that. So that would be my answer. But again, the biggest grain of salt, this is just coming again from a straight white guy. So I'm sure there are a lot better answers, but that's what I thought of.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way as you, Ben. I'm like, I don't know that I'm qualified to answer, but you know, that's why I ask, and I want to hear some other perspectives. And it sounds like I stepped on Caleb a little bit. So
no, you're good. One thing that I've been really excited about very, very recently is the new Superman coming out.
Yes,
bisexual. And I
Yeah.
just love that representation within comics. And I absolutely darkly love everybody freaking out about it.
Yeah, me too.
Me
Get
too,
fucked,
man.
boomers.
I was texting my cousin. I was like, they're lucky I'm not in charge of DC because I would make Batman a black trans woman. And every time she punched
Seriously.
someone, she'd be like, I'm a black trans woman.
Yeah.
I'm Batman. And I decanonize all the other Batmans.
No, I think that's
Just
awesome.
to be like, fuck you. Sorry, can we cuss?
Yeah, please fucking
please.
tear it up. But I think we're all in the same boat. Like, I kind of like seeing it get under some people's skin. It's like, good, this should make you uncomfortable because you need to be okay with it. Like, I feel very lucky how I grew up. My dad came out when I was 2 years old. So I grew up, spending every other weekend in San Francisco, going to pride parades, like just doing all that kind of stuff and kind of growing up within the culture. So I'm like, oh, this is cool. All these people are super cool. I don't know why people don't like them. Like, this is great. They throw great parties, as much as you can as a 7-year-old. You're like, yeah, man, they're great, But it was
Your dad
great.
made me the best Cosmo I've
And
ever had in my life.
Having the gay influence didn't turn you gay?
I know.
What?
Yeah, I know. It's like, I know my mom still doesn't, thought that was going to happen, but it's like, we're here again. Susan Sarandon, like and subscribe if you're here. But yeah, I grew up with that stuff though, for real. Like, I know we were joking about it, but that was a concern. I remember my dad picking me up one weekend. We were going to the gay rodeo, like the profits were going to like those kind of charities, and had family members who were concerned about like what influence that would have on me. It's like, that's not how this works at all. This is just like,
I'm so envious of your life right now.
I don't know. I just like, it's a huge plus that I feel like I've had in my life, was being exposed to that at such a young age. So it's great, like thinking about a movie like this where, in 75, it's coming out, and for the people that, it was for, and people that were like really drawn to it and saw themselves on screen, like that was huge. I don't know what kind of stuff really is doing that today, given where the world was at the time. But I'm really glad this movie exists. And I'm glad like the progression that we've made, in the last almost 40 years, or almost 50 years. Like, yeah, I think it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a part of me that's like, I don't know if a movie like this can ever happen again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I think, I guess in some ways, because I don't know a better way to say this, but like alternative lifestyles, right? Like have become more mainstream. I don't really love that term, but it's the only way I can think to articulate it. I think because it is more generally acceptable and more people are open to it. I think it would be difficult for something to sort of like come out by surprise. You know what I mean?
Well, y'all know they
which
remade
is
this,
certainly
right?
a good thing.
Did y'all know they remade it?
Yeah, for like network television or something. Like 20. When was it?
I didn't even watch it.
Yeah, it's
Like
it's
2016, I think, or
unnecessary.
2016.
Yeah.
Who was in that? I gotta look
They
this
tried
up.
so hard. They tried so hard with it, but they tried too hard. Is the thing. Like,
And it's just like,
Laverne
why?
Cox as Frankenfooter, and they got even Tim Curry back in it. And
it's funny, but my thoughts on that with Laverne Cox is that she's too femme, which is kind of funny. But yeah, I feel like she's too femme for that role, because I kind of feel like if I am Janet, and if I'm straight and I'm Janet, then I might find Tim Curry sexy because he has that kind of David Bowie kind of androgynous thing going. But Laverne Cox is a beautiful woman. But if I am straight, but if I am straight Janet, that's not really.
It's that plot line or whatever may not.
It doesn't work
as
for
much.
me. Yeah,
that's interesting. Adam Lambert, Christina Milian.
Yeah,
but just we didn't need it. It's just like unnecessary.
The one we have is great. Why mess with it?
And it was perfectly cast. Like,
oh my god,
I don't think that anybody could have taken over any of those roles. Like, I mean, they're all just fantastic.
Yeah, they're perfect.
I was watching this documentary. I fell into a YouTube hole, like I was saying, but I was watching a documentary that was done in like 87, but it was just around like the cult following of like Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, okay.
And it was so amazing to see that, like, back then. And the people they were interviewing was like, they would almost be in tears because they're like, we finally have a safe place to go to be
That's awesome.
not normal, or what our society is calling not normal. And
Yeah.
I was like, back in like the 80s and 70s, where people just had nothing. Think about, like, they didn't have the internet. They didn't have anything to connect them. Sorry, that's my bird clock going off.
No, it's all good.
But they didn't have anything to connect them. And then all of a sudden this movie comes out, and you could go to a theater and you know you're going to be accepted. You could go out as a guy with makeup on, and you're going to not be beat up. Like, that's such a powerful thing that this movie did.
That's fucking huge, especially in that time. Like you said, there's no internet. It's all word of mouth. So, you know, whoever else is showing up at this midnight special is there for this, and it's a safe space. And that, that's amazing.
Specifically to be part of, or to not be a part of the mainstream culture. Like, that was the reason for going there. That's why it became such a cult following. That, and I mean, it's just a fucking amazing movie.
Yeah, exactly.
It became legendary because of that. I think because of the LGBTQ representation. I mean, what other thing in the 70s was like having a person come out and singing about being a sweet transvestite? Like, come on.
Seriously.
But by night I'm one hell of a lover. I'm just a sweet transvestite. From transsexual Transylvania.
Yeah,
I mean, even
we can barely get away with that nowadays.
That's what I was going to say.
Like 70s, like
I like that.